Hey, Restoring Darkness listeners. I know you want to get into the podcast with Senator Laura Ellman, but I do want to apologize before we start. We had some technical difficulties in this one, and Senator Ellman cut out a little bit over the course of the show, but we've reviewed it and we think it's good enough to put out. So enjoy our podcast with Senator Laura Ellman of Illinois. And Senator Ellman, sorry about that, but it's just too good of a conversation. We got to put it out there. Enjoy, folks. Welcome back to the Restoring Darkness podcast. On today's show, we are quite pleased to be joined by Senator Laura Ellman from Illinois. State Senator Laura Ellman was first elected to serve in the Illinois General Assembly in November of 2018 and re-elected in 2022. Senate District 21 includes parts of Bolingbrook, Downers Grove, Glen Ellyn, Lisle, Lombard, Naperville, Wheaton and Warrenville. Senator Ellman currently serves on a number of committees, including Agriculture, Appropriations, Chairperson of Environment and Conservation, which I think is going to be germane to this conversation, Vice-Chairperson of Financial Institutions, Transportation, and Veteran Affairs. Senator Ellman was the first child to attend college in both her parents' families. After graduating from Grinnell College with a degree in mathematics, she earned a master's degree in applied statistics at the University of Iowa. Professionally, she has more than 25 years of experience working in manufacturing and engineering and dealing with regulations and policies. Senator Ellman currently lives in Naperville with her husband Pete, a musician and small business owner, and they are the proud parents of 2 adult children. Her website, Facebook, and Instagram will be on the Restoring Darkness podcast website. I'm joined by my co-host today, Mark Baker of the Soft Lights Foundation, and you can visit softlights.org, and he works on revealing some of the lighting metrics, or revealing some of the things about light that maybe the lighting industry doesn't know about that yet. And he had a fantastic proposal that was rejected by the FDA that had to do with glare from headlights. So go to softlights.org to learn more about his organization. I'm Michael Colligan. I'm the executive director of the Lighting and Darkness Foundation that represents over 75 lighting companies in the United States and Canada. And we started the Lighting and Darkness Foundation to help mitigate with light trespass disputes between neighbors, either commercial properties and residential properties, or residential properties and residential properties, and so on. And so that's what we're doing. We're also creating education. So you can go to restoringdarkness.com, and if you want to donate, click the donate link there. Senator Ellman, welcome to the Restoring Darkness podcast.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, we're really excited about SB3501. Is it the first legislation in Illinois that addresses light pollution?
Yes, Senate Bill 3501, first of its kind in our state, and I'm not sure whether it is in other states, but it certainly was a topic in Springfield this session.
That's good. And it was approved. And what is the purpose of the bill? And did the final approved bill check all of the boxes that you wanted to check when you started it?
Well, that's a great question. When I first started out, the scope was much wider. Currently, this bill, what this does is it requires any new state-funded light fixtures, exterior light fixtures that are owned or managed by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, a single agency in our state government, to be dark sky compliant. So my original intent was a much wider scope, considering Department of Transportation and street and roadway lighting, the larger facilities management group to consider all exterior lighting. And Springfield being Springfield, we had to start out smaller. And I intend for this to be incremental and then to come back next year and expand. Like I said in committee, this is just one step on the path to darkness.
So, and I think in our countries, America and Canada, I'm Canadian, that the only way to accomplish good things is incrementally. We have to go step by step by step. But is it possible to accelerate this? Do you see this issue accelerating faster, or do you think there's going to be more and more roadblocks in the future? What do you see from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, and I'm fairly new to this, so I might have, a very newcomer opinion. But, even in towns in my district, Glen Ellyn, for example, there are towns and municipalities and park districts who are adopting this on their own. So that their buildings are dark sky compliant. So they have stadiums that don't light up the night sky to above. So I think it's probably a mix, and it is incremental. And as the word so important, controlling light pollution is, I think it will be, it will.
The chairperson of the Environment and Conservation portfolio that you manage, do you believe that light pollution is pollution, or do you think it is a metaphor?
Good question. Well, I'm not sure I know the answer to that. I know that it does have negative effects on people, on the environment, flora and fauna. And so in those ways, it is a form of pollution. I also think, my background in manufacturing and engineering, I think excess light is also a form of waste. We're using energy where we don't need to, and we're putting photons where they don't belong, and that's a form of waste. So it's reducing that excess light and having light where we need it can reduce that pollution, and it can also reduce waste.
So before, I know, Mark, you wanted to jump in, but I just want to comment quickly on something Senator Ellman said right there, and that is that when I started this show, I wanted to answer the question whether light pollution is pollution, and the answer to that question is most affirmatively yes. And I made a prediction 2 years ago in Inside Lighting that within 10 years, the EPA would declare wasted light at night hazardous waste. Because we know that it is. Like, there's no question about it, that certainly, there's many, many different reasons why excessive and unneeded light at night is a hazardous to the environment. Mark, I know you had a question, though.
Oh, Senator Ellman, I was just thrilled. So Michael and I were having this discussion before this show, and we were a little bit worried about how to get this show started. And you've answered all our questions right off the bat. So we're thrilled. My concern was I saw that your bill got watered down, and I didn't know how you felt about it. So you've already told us. And I love the idea of incremental steps and not giving up and trying it again. To add to Michael's comment, our petition to the FDA, the FDA's requirement is to minimize the emissions of and the exposure to unnecessary radiation. So light is radiation. Yeah. And so there's that whole waste thing. Do we really need it? What's the dosage that we're getting? Are we being impacted? So that's something that we're working on. I had a sort of a technical question. So, yeah. Okay. Thanks. So one of the things that we see often is 3,000 Kelvin. Mm-hmm. And your bill has 2,700 Kelvin. And I was wondering how you sort of learned about that, how you chose that number, how that came to be.
That's a great question. I actually worked with advocates with Dark International on more of the technical stuff because I'm not a lighting expert. I know how to turn lights on and off, and I know how to change a light bulb. But as far as the warmth and coolness of light and wavelengths, and I'm a layperson at best. So I used the help of technical experts.
I see. Well, that's interesting because on the Dark Sky International website, they actually have two numbers. They have 3,000 K and they have 2,200 K, but they don't have 2,700 K. 2,700 Kelvin is basically the color temperature for a standard incandescent light bulb.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think it's a good choice that you made for that bill. I think it's good. What I don't know. I have so many questions. I don't want to do too much here. Another thing was Michael, would you just jump in? I'm worried.
Sure, you're worried. Well, I mean, I think what I'm wondering is, how did some of your colleagues, how did they debate this? How was it sort of prosecuted in the Senate? What were some of the questions people had? What were some of the objections?
Oh, thanks. Yeah. So most of the debate actually in committee, and probably, the committee members, and surprisingly enough, it was not in the Environment and Conservation Committee, which I chair. It was in a different committee, the Judiciary Committee, and I don't know exactly why. Or no, I'm sorry, it was state government. I'm thinking of a different bill. So it makes sense, because this would change the practice of an agency within state government. Really, there were questions, kind of technical questions, and logistical questions on how this would work. Whether it would require changing out lights that are already in existence. And the answer to that is no. This is just for new projects as you're going forward. It's not requiring any kind of I can't think of the term, but
retrofit or renovation. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Then there was one comment of somebody who said that they didn't think that it was our business to tell the agency what to do, but it certainly is the realm of the legislature to tell the state agencies what to do. So, yeah, but that was it. Kind of the logistics.
Nothing about safety. There was nothing about safety. Nobody talked about safety.
Well, when we were not in committee, but as we were negotiating the bill, and it's as I started out with Department of Transportation and the agency that oversees facilities, and Department of Natural Resources. One of the concerns that the Department of Transportation had was on safety and roadway safety, and some of the standards that they cited for that they must comply with for visibility at a certain distance given road speeds. And then even IDNR did have concerns regarding safety in terms of personal safety, like in parking lots, for example, or even protection of equipment or assets to have kind of the security lighting. But in the end, we, like I said, we shifted away from IDOT, the Department of Transportation, because it was just getting a little bit too difficult in that regard. So with IDNR, we did end up landing on some specifications. And we also made exemptions where safety or security would prevent dark sky compliant lighting.
So there is some applications where electric light at night does provide safety, and a perfect example of that is like a prison yard, right? So there are situations where you do have to have a certain amount of electric light. But what I find, and perhaps you can tell me from your experience, did the safety people in this regard, were they required to show any proof that their lights delivered this safety they talk about, or is it just an assumption that electric light at night provides more safety, and that more light and higher whiteness of light is more safety?
I don't know the answer to that question. Nobody provided that data, but then again, I also didn't ask for it.
Yeah, because it doesn't exist. That's what I would say. So that we call that Mr. Strawman on this show, where people come on and there's this presumption that hey, if there's more light and it's whiter and it's brighter, it's safer for people. But actually, most of the evidence that's coming out now is indicating that high light, high uniformity, high brightness, high color rendering light at night actually increases crime. and that when there is smash and grab crime, so they can see into the car, they can see into the window of the home, and they can see what's in there, so that it actually motivates certain types of crime. They obviously haven't completed this, but what I always find interesting, Senator Ellman, is that the safety people are never required to provide proof. They're always asking for their straw man argument to be proven wrong rather than the other way around. But I think that's natural. Mark, did you have a question?
Yeah, sure. So safety is one aspect, excuse me, but the other aspect is health. And you mentioned that, Senator Ellman, this health thing. And in our efforts, we're not seeing the health departments in state levels, county levels, et cetera, having a say in this. What we're trying to do is educate the health departments and get them involved. During your efforts, was there any talk about getting health departments involved in this issue?
No, there wasn't. Not at this point. But that you raise a great concern. And we are looking at water quality, and as you probably are aware, PFAS might be a good analogy. When we're learning about the effects of the heretofore barely known, well, now it's fairly well known, but even 5 or 10 years ago, it wasn't. And certainly not, we weren't aware of and didn't measure the health effects of these contaminants. So I think the science is evolving, and I would welcome science on exposure to light and different light temperatures to be, and I know it's starting and there are studies, but there's probably a lot of room for more exploration.
And I think you could also introduce this issue to your Environment and Conservation Department as well. I think it would be very, very good to start the discussions there, because we know that moths are not as popular as turtles. So we know that bats and moths are not as cute, right? And so there's a massive movement in Florida called Conserve Turtles, and they do amazing work. Yeah. They really do a great job. But I think all living things matter. And what we're trying to do is get more of the environmental movement to embrace the light pollution issue as an environmental issue. And you had mentioned earlier that do you see an opportunity to segue this into those conversations with your chairmanship over the Environment and Conservation Committee?
I do. And not only that, in Springfield there are more people. I mean, we are a committee of senators, but there are a lot of advocates, environmental advocates, Sierra Club. There are a lot of environmentally focused groups. And this bill did make it on the Illinois Environmental Council list of environmental bills. So going forward, we certainly can push this and raise awareness. And they are, you've probably worked with people from those organizations, have great mechanisms for informing and advocating for issues. So to get them involved in the light conversation could be really impactful.
Senator Ellman, as I understand it, you're the author of this bill. Is that right?
Well, yes, I did not write the language myself, but yes, I carried the bill.
So that's just amazing, and congratulations to you. And I applaud your work for that, because it's just really something. So I'm actually kind of maybe asking this out of turn. Maybe we should have asked it earlier, but how did you, of all the things you can pick, how did you choose this? Are your constituents telling you this is bothering me? Was it a personal thing that's bothering you, or your kids telling you? Well, how'd you get into that particular thing?
Well, it was really random. I was knocking on doors, as a candidate is wont to do, and one of the doors I knocked on was someone who is involved with Dark International, just locally. He was telling me about it, and I was intrigued, and we followed up, and it wasn't overnight, but you know, it took probably a year or so, and now we have a bill. So yeah, it came from a constituent.
Oh, that's a wild story.
That's
You're just
wonderful.
knocking on doors.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah, it's great.
And so now that is this your first success? You said you're new. Is this your first one?
Oh, no, I've been in office since I got sworn in 2019, first elected in November of 2018. And I've had many, many bills passed. But I have to say, the ones that I'm most proud of and are the ones that come right from constituents. And I've had about 3 or 4 or 5 of those right from people within my district who've got an idea.
If I could just mention something that I was working on last night. So in California, there's a gentleman who wants to get natural lighting into schools. He wants me to, as a Soft Lights Foundation, to help him, and I certainly support his goals. And so he's got statistics show that kids will learn better, 20% improvement in student achievement scores by using natural light, windows or light coming through a skylight versus the artificial light. So and he's out there doing, like, he's talking to his state assembly member in California here and trying to get the same things done. So maybe we'll have some kind of success.
You know, Mark, I actually know a lot about that issue, and that the evidence for natural lighting classrooms is absolutely rock solid. And it even holds for sun tunnels when you can't see that it's actually the argument holds when you put sun tunnels in. It's almost as if you know, I'll tell you, Senator Ellman, it's almost as if we're fish figuring out we're in the water with light. That's how impactful it is. And when you talk to lighting scientists, you know, they can't even really tell you what light is. They don't really know what it is. And the most interesting definition I heard from one of the researchers on Get a Grip on Lighting, Mark, many years ago, was that light is best described as information, and bad lighting is really bad information, right? So it's telling your body to do the wrong thing, and it's telling the wildlife to do the wrong thing. It's telling the turtles to go the wrong way. It's telling the birds to fly around this building in circles. And so when we think of light primarily as information, it's actually an excellent starting point to understanding what light is doing. It's telling plants to grow. It's telling us to go to bed. You know, it's to light a fire, right, and, you know, and to start to settle down and become to a protective place. And so light is best thought of as information to life on Earth.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's fascinating to think about it like that.
Yeah.
Senator Ellman, do you have any final words of encouragement or acknowledgement or anything you'd like to say before we close out the Restoring Darkness podcast?
No, I'm just really excited about this legislation. And again, it is just one small step. We will continue. And I think as you are, you know, you're even helping make aware, learning more about the impacts of our light is growing. So I'm just glad to be part of it, and I hope to continue.
And I'm so happy to meet you. We always hear so much negative stuff in the press about politicians and what's going on, and I think this is just such a wonderful victory. It makes me feel so good that, you know, we're on our way. And folks out there listening, I've said it before, and Mark and I have said it's 100 years it's going to take to fix this issue. So we got to get to work now, and we're going to start. And you can do that by going to softlights.org, and you can support Mark Baker's work there, where he's looking into, you know, what I said, the bad lighting, the bad information that's from light that it's giving us. And I don't know if he's changed the tagline yet, but I think he's going to go with, you shouldn't fear the dark, you should fear the light. And you can check out restoringdarkness.com, and if you want to support our work, we're over 75 lighting companies in the United States and Canada that work as frontline lighting practitioners. That's right, we deal with customers. We're not the manufacturers, but we deal with the customers around the front lines. And so we want to build educational programs to teach people how to identify light trespass, how to identify light pollution, who will have the equipment to solve the problem and then can specify the solution. So go to restoringdarkness.com. And you can also support our work simply by liking it on YouTube or Facebook or anywhere else you find us. Please like, subscribe, and all that other stuff. And finally, Senator Laura Ellman from Illinois, what a pleasure it's been to chat with you, and thank you for your work.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye for now.